The dark 11th hour draws on and sees us sold to every evil power we fought against of old. Rebellion, rapine, hate, oppression, wrong and greed are loosened to rule our fate by England's act and deed. The faith in which we stand, the laws we made and guard, our honour, lives and land are given for reward. To murder done by night, to treason taught by day, to folly, sloth and spite, and we are thrust away. The blood our fathers spilt, our love, our toils, our pains, are counted us for guilt and only bind our chains. Before an empire's eyes, the traitor claims his price. What need of further lies? We are the sacrifice. We ask no more than leave to reap where we had sown, through good and ill to cleave to our own flag and throne. Now England's shot and steel beneath that flag must show how loyal hearts should kneel to England's oldest foe. We know the war's prepared on every peaceful home. We know the hell's declared for such as served not Rome. The terror, threats and dread in market, hearth and field. We know when all is said, we perish if we yield. Believe we dare not boast. Believe we do not fear. We stand to pay the cost in all that men hold dear. What answer from the north? One law, one land, one throne. If England drives us forth, we shall not fall alone.
Well, hello and good evening here to Restore UK on a Monday evening, and it's good to see the numbers going up. And this evening we're here, I guess, like a broken record, to talk about the inactions of our politicians, and not just to talk about, but to point out in a way that we can show, in an evidential way, that our politicians aren't actually doing what it is that we elected them to do. And you know, right now in Northern Ireland, there's a huge job of work to do in terms of trying to reverse this unfair protocol. This unfair protocol, which separates us in Northern Ireland from the rest of the United Kingdom, and it separates us in an illegal way. And yet there doesn't seem to be meaningful, proactive protest that is brought forward by our political leaders, and namely those political leaders being the DUP, that's the Democratic Unionist Party. So why is it that we keep focusing on the DUP? The DUP are the only party right now that can make a meaningful and proactive protest in order to bring that protocol down. And don't let them tell you that they can't. They seem to be skirting around the issues, you know, the issues that would break the protocol. And they don't seem to want to use all in their power to ensure that Northern Ireland is returned to being a first-class member of the United Kingdom and a member of the United Kingdom, just like the people in England, Scotland and Wales. So this is where we stand today. Now, we've prepared some stuff today in order that what we can do is that we can take you through a step-by-step process. And we can show you some of the inactions from the DUP, and we can actually point out, I guess, whenever they're talking, that they don't seem to be talking up. You know, they don't seem to be doing things in a way that a leader of Northern Ireland Unionism should be doing right now. I mean, they should be using every opportunity to, I'll use these words again, to fight for our survival in a meaningful, proactive way, in a way that would defend, protect, and enhance the United Kingdom. So before we move on with what it is that we want to show you, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to, as I would normally do, I'm going to play a victim story, just a short clip, just a a clip that would be up to 2 minutes. And on the back of that, whenever we come back after the victim's story, what we'll do is we'll get straight into explaining what it is that we've seen, what it is that we've noticed, what it is that we've witnessed over the weekend again from those in political leadership in Northern Ireland. Now, again, I understand that there's people that come here from England, Scotland and Wales to watch. But you see, believe me, the real fight is in Northern Ireland right now, because this protocol which separates Northern Ireland from the rest of the United Kingdom, it is putting in place what could be, if we don't defeat it, the breakup of the United Kingdom. So the battle's right here, right now in Northern Ireland, and it's the people of Northern Ireland that have to put their political leaders under so much pressure that they will roll back and they will begin a fight back in a way that is befitting of unionist leadership in any part of the United Kingdom. So again, what I would like to do is I would like to play a victim's story, and whenever we come back, we'll talk about what it is that we come back to talk, what we're here to talk about. So I'm just going to play you a man called David Temple, and David Temple's talking about the loss of his brother when David was made a victim in 1972, in a time in our history which become known as the Claudy bombings. So over to David.
I lost my brother in Claudy in 1972, 31st of July. Claudy is one of the controversial killings in the Troubles. As you know yourself, 1972 was one of the worst years in the Troubles, and there was a priest involved in it. The Northern Ireland office, they tried to hide the priest, and they communicated with the Roman Catholic Church, the Irish government, to try and hide him, put him somewhere away safe. There's nobody's come forward and said what part they played in this. This is why, at the present minute, some of the Claudy families are heading down a legal route, John, to get answers to these questions. That is why Claudy is so controversial, because it involves the Roman Catholic Church, the Northern Ireland office, and Martin McGuinness. Martin McGuinness was invited to meet the Claudy families. He never, ever turned up for it. We will never give up. My father died, John, 4 years after losing his son. My mother passed away there 3 years ago, never getting answers to her son's death. I hope this day, I pray, that I'll be able to see the end of this and get the answers for some of the Claudy families. The questions, John, you know this, would need to be answered. But I hope I live long enough, John, to get these answers. If I don't, I have another brother to take my place.
Okay, people. So, that was David, and David was just explaining about his brother, and how that since 1972 they have been fighting for justice for the Claudy bombings, and there doesn't seem to be any justice that is coming to the victims right now. And on Forgotten Voices Media, we often do a show. If you're new to here this evening, we tell victim stories, and some of the stories are they would bring a tear to anyone. So on with what we're here to do. We're on here to talk about, now we're not here to knock our political leaders. We're not here to tear them down. We're here to try to explain in a way that they roll back, that they begin, as I say, fighting for our survival in a meaningful, proactive way. And wouldn't it be good that if we were here, and if we were here highlighting the actions of our political leaders, as opposed to the inactions, and the inactions that would bring us to the point where Northern Ireland is no more. So again, Robert Kelly, look, if anyone else can tell me that if the connection's bad tonight, I mean, everything seems to be working here. We seem to be having good internet and everything else. So maybe if you could put it into the live chat, if there's any problems with the connection, and then we can relate that to the other people on the live chat. So at this point, what I would like to do is I would like to start in by, what do we say? I'd like to start
about how
by playing some video clippings of an interview that Arlene Foster done at the weekend. And I would like just to, as this interview would go on, you know, there's two short clips. And as this would go on, what we'll do is that we'll stop it and we'll kind of narrate and we'll point out the words that I feel that should be pointed out, and in the hope that our DUP leadership are watching right now, and in the hope that we can explain what it is that we see that is going wrong and how it is that we don't believe that they're fighting properly in order to have the protocol removed, or they're standing up properly for the people of Northern Ireland. So here we go.
Can I ask you about how things are politically at the moment? Because there is that instability over the Northern Ireland Protocol. Is it still your view that the protocol in its entirety has to go? Or do you believe it can be amended or tweaked to make it more workable?
Well, certainly not tweaked. I think we've seen the real and meaningful way in which it has damaged commerce in Northern Ireland, and we're still in grace periods at this present moment in time. And then, of course, moving away from the economic piece, which is hugely important, you have to deal also with the identity piece and the East-West relationship, and the fact that we are still part of the United Kingdom, and yet we have this huge issue to deal with. And there's great unease within the Unionist and Loyalist community around all of that, and I hear it every single day. I look at the front page of one of our local newspapers today, lady saying from the Loyalist community, the problem is that nobody's listening to us, and I think there's a real sense of that at this present moment in time, and that's dangerous, Tommy. When people think that they're being sidelined and not listened to, I think that is something that the Dublin government need to recognise, and the government in London as well.
Okay. Whenever the presenter asked Arlene there, does the protocol need tweaked or amended? And Arlene said, well, it's certainly not tweaked, but she didn't say amended. The protocol has to go. The protocol is going to deliver the people of Northern Ireland into this thing called a new Ireland, which, when looked at, really is to be a vassal of the EU, just like Ireland is right now, where they're rule takers, where they have no control or no say over where it is that they go as a country. They just take the rules from Brussels and they're asked for money. They're involved in a excuse this expression, but they're involved in what I see as a glorified Ponzi scheme, where they continue to put the money in and they get a little bit back, you know, and they don't get as much back, obviously, as they put in. And this is what happens in the EU, and then they dictate what it is that you have to do. And that's the reason why we wanted to leave the EU in the first place. So here we have Arlene actually saying that certainly not tweaked. Now, she didn't clarify whether, and definitely not amended, the protocol must go is the way that it actually should be. So again, I'm just going to play on here for a moment or two, because there's a couple of clips, and just excuse me if this one is nearly at the end, but let's play it and we'll see.
Do you think this assembly will run until May of next year? What are your instincts telling you?
Well, I'm not a prophet or a daughter of a prophet, so I can't say
yeah, but you're essentially
that.
Involved. You're a key player.
I am, and I can only say what I want to happen. And what I want to happen is for devolution to succeed, because I believe that that's right for Northern Ireland. I believe in it because people want stability in Northern Ireland and they just want to get on with their everyday lives.
Okay, people. I mean, again, you heard Arlene there, and I'm going to emphasise back again to the fact that she says, well, certainly not tweaked, but she didn't emphasise that it shouldn't be amended. And, you know, any self-respecting unionist leader right now, as per the words of Jim Allister, let me just explain it like this. Jim Allister said that the protocol will ultimately destroy Northern Ireland, will ultimately destroy Northern Ireland's place in the United Kingdom. I mean, we're separated right now. And, you know, whenever they say that there could be a vote on the protocol in 4 years' time, well, there's also mechanisms by which that then it is sent off, then it is actually tweaked, or it is actually amended, and then it comes back under a different guise. So the protocol has to go. It can't stay. Otherwise, it's going to be there forever and a day to keep Northern Ireland locked in the vassal, as a vassal within the EU. So any self-respecting unionist leader right now should be speaking the language of the protocol actually has to go. And, you know, I just wonder whenever I hear the likes of Arlene Foster doing those interviews now, let's try to put ourselves in the shoes of Arlene right now. And let's try to understand why that it is that she skirts around certain issues, why that it is that she doesn't come out in a clear way and say that the protocol has to go, that the protocol is illegal, that the protocol is anti-democratic, that the protocol is discriminatory, that the protocol discriminates against British Unionist electorate here in Northern Ireland. And why does it discriminate? Well, it discriminates because that whenever that 4 constituent parts of the United Kingdom, they all voted in the same referendum, they all voted on the same ballot paper, and there's the ballot paper, a referendum on United Kingdom's membership of the European Union. Vote only once by putting a cross X in a box next to your choice. Should the United Kingdom remain a member of the European Union or leave the European Union? Remain a member of the European Union or leave the European Union. And 17.4 plus million people placed their X and leave the European Union. And there was more people that placed their X in that little box. And democracy dictates that those people, they won the democratic referendum. And you know, that referendum, it was defined by David Trimble before that we placed our X in the box. And he said that there would be one vote. And if the people make their choice, and if they want to stay or they want to leave, the people's will be respected. That's what he said. And he says that there won't be any more negotiations or renegotiations. It'll be your choice. Now, David Cameron, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that I'm not. He was the Prime Minister of the day, the Prime Minister who set the referendum in place. He defined it. He defined it clearly. And people in Northern Ireland, like people in England and Scotland and Wales, they all took part in a United Kingdom-wide referendum on the United Kingdom's membership of the European Union. It didn't say a referendum on England and Scotland and Wales' right to stay, and Northern Ireland has no right to, right to leave, and Northern Ireland has no right to leave. It talked about the United Kingdom. We are part of the United Kingdom. And right now, people, this is the corruption of a democratic referendum. This is the corruption of democracy. And, you know, then I put myself in Arlene Foster's shoes whenever I'm speaking to an RTE journalist. And I sit and listen to some of the words that the RTE journalist is using. And I just wonder why that it is that Arlene won't actually say that, well, the protocol has to go. The protocol is unlawful. The protocol is anti-democratic. The protocol is discriminatory. You know, it's no use going over them all again, but I'm just wondering why that it is that our leaders won't actually say and state clearly exactly how that it is. You see, then I come to the conclusion that what the DUP are doing right now, this is an accusation that I will level straight at Arlene Foster. And if I'm wrong, again, I'm asking that she come here, that some members of the DUP come here and they say, well, look, there's a reason why that we're doing that. Now, I suspect I know the reason why that she won't use clear words. She won't make the case clear, is because what she is actually doing is that she's trying to keep herself right in the eyes of the media. She's trying to keep the DUP party political machine safe from the criticism of the media. And by extension, by doing that, what they are doing, and they don't realise this, they must not realise that what they are actually doing is they are offending the British Unionist electorate who actually put them in power. Because what we see is that we see a leadership that is failing to stand up in a meaningful, proactive way, in a way that defends and protects and enhances British unionism. And for that reason, we say that, can we trust them? Can we trust them to fight our corner? Can we trust them to save Northern Ireland? Can we trust them to have that protocol removed? Can we trust the DUP and the UUP whenever they're joining on to a court case, along with Jim Allister, Ben Habib and Kate Hoy, whenever in one form they aren't doing the right thing? And we're going to show you some more. Whenever they're not doing the right thing, whenever they're standing up for the rights of the people of Northern Ireland, and then they're saying to the people of Northern Ireland, well, we are going to take a court case here to ensure that your rights are actually maintained. And what is happening right now with this protocol? It breaks law and rights, human rights, in so many different ways, and yet we don't hear our political leadership screaming out that our electorate is being treated as second-class citizens, is being treated as in a discriminatory way. And and I would like to see more of that from our politicians. And I'm going to show you some more of these words, so that we can show in a conclusive way that the DUP are actually riding two horses at the minute. And I wish that wasn't the case. And I wish that I wasn't here showing and explaining that they're not doing the right thing. But that is the case. And that's who that we elected as the leaders of Northern Ireland unionism. And I just wonder, have they got their own agenda? Is there a pathway that they are taking? Is there a place where they want to take the British Unionist electorate against their will? Well, if that's the case, why don't they come and say it? Why don't they state clearly what it is that they want to do? And then we can vote with our vote. We can vote with our feet, so to speak, and we can sign them. We can consign the DUP to, like the UUP were previously, to the dustbins of history. Who remembers the days of Davy Trimble and that merry conglomerate, where the people of Northern Ireland were screaming from the rooftops whilst David Trimble continued to implement things contrary to the wishes of the British Unionist electorate? Then what happened is that David Trimble took us to somewhere that we didn't want to go, and it has been proven today that the Belfast Agreement isn't actually working for us. Well, the electorate seen that, and the electorate actually, they showed the Ulster Unionist Party straight after they done that they weren't going to be trusted again. And I believe that this is exactly where the DUP are heading for right now. And I believe that if the DUP don't really catch a grip, and if they don't begin to turn around, and if they don't do things in a way that, that words are fine, but we need those words followed up by actions. And I know that there's so many people that come to screens like this that they will never trust the DUP again. But, I'm a realist, and what I'm aiming at trying to do is to make them turn around completely, U-turn, and to stand on the side of the British Unionist electorate. There's reasons, again, why they do what they do. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to reach out to people that they say that they need to win the hearts and minds of. People that say, for example, would be heading off to the Alliance Party. But the truth of the matter is the media will never let that happen. So the DUP right now, in their efforts to try to satisfy the media, to try to keep the media off their backs, what they do is they don't use the words that they should be using. They don't use the words in the way that they need to be used in order to continue to gain and maintain the hearts and minds within the British Unionist electorate here in Northern Ireland. So the DUP, under the leadership of Arlene Foster, Jeffrey Donaldson, people like Edwin Poots, people like Emma Pengelly, who's a special advisor, Gareth Robinson, do you know that whole conglomerate at the top? Sammy Wilson speaks fine words, but yet the party political machine at leadership level, they continue not to fight for our survival in a meaningful, proactive way. And I wish that was different. I really, really wish that was different, but it really isn't. It really isn't. So I'm going now to go to another little video. And again, it's a video that what we can do is that we can play it in a way that we can break it down, we can narrate through it, and we can point out exactly where it is that the DUP are not standing up to the plate, and they're not using the words that they should be using. And by extension of not using those words, what they are doing is they're disenfranchising a lot of the electorate that otherwise would vote for them. And my fear is that there's going to come an election soon. And I did hear Arlene Foster saying, well, we will gauge things by the assembly elections next year as a precursor to the national elections. But that's not a strategy, That's like, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. We'll continue on to offend the British Unionist electorate. And if they don't vote for us at the assembly elections, well, we'll change the way that we're going, and we'll come out and we'll go again. I shake my head when I see what these people are doing. And I so often wonder who it is that writes their strategy, who it is that writes their script. And again, I emphasize, I'm not here to have a kick at the DUP. I'm here to show the DUP what it is that they're doing to British Unionism. And I've heard some people saying, I can't stand over these words, but I've heard a lot of people saying, you would nearly think that someone somewhere has something over the DUP leadership for the way that they're acting. You think about that. A lot of people have that in their minds because of how that it is that they see the DUP implementing their business on a daily basis. I happen to think that the reason why that they're doing that is they're trying to keep themselves sanitized within the media so that the media don't attack them. But how is that working out? That's really not working out, because the media don't care about them anyway. And that's the truth. The media couldn't care less. The media use every opportunity to attack. And the media will attack the DUP, and they will try to put in place the likes of the Alliance Party, who seems to be the media's darling right now. So that's just the way that it is. That's how it is. So maybe the DUP needs to start thinking about winning the hearts and minds within their own community by actually doing the right thing, speaking the right words, and never missing a trick whenever it comes to standing up for a British Unionist way of life here in Northern Ireland. I mean, as far as I can hear Ireland speaking, it's about working for everybody. Well, let's see how that works out. Let's see how that works out for the DUP if they continue to do exactly as they are doing right now. So I'm going to go to another video here. So just bear with me for a second, okay?
Maybe people who say, we want a border poll and we want to vote in a way that's different to you.
Yeah.
And they may someday in our lifetime be in a majority.
Now, I'm just going to pause that for a moment and point out exactly what it was that the presenter said. He says that there may be some people that would want to vote for a border poll. A border poll, that's for, so-called Irish unity. And someday they may be in the majority. That's what he said. Now, I'm going to point out something here, is that Brexiteers were in a majority, 17.4 plus million people on the 23rd of June 2016, on a referendum that was United Kingdom wide. They voted to leave the EU. Now, I'm going to ask people a question, and I'm going to ask you to ponder this question in your mind's eye and reason this out for yourself. But if we voted to leave the EU, and seemingly England, Scotland and Wales has now left the EU, why are we now hitched to the EU? Why are we now a vassal of the EU? Why are we now EU rule takers? And you just heard what that journalist there said. He says that there may be people that would want a border poll and they may be in the majority in the future. Well, we were in the majority. Brexiteers were in the majority. So why would we ever, and this is a point that I'm making here, if I were Arlene Foster talking to that man, well, I would be saying right now that well, why would we ever accept a border poll whenever our Brexit referendum wasn't delivered, whenever the threat of violence was talked up, and because of that threat of violence, Europe, they insisted to their vassal, which is Dublin, that there couldn't be a border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and now we've ended up with a border in the North Channel. And as a leadership of Northern Ireland Unionism right now, I would expect Arlene Foster to be standing up for my rights, to be standing up in order to ensure that I and you weren't discriminated against in terms of how that Brexit referendum, how that democracy actually was dispensed. Because democracy was only dispensed to England, Scotland and Wales, and it wasn't actually allocated to Northern Ireland British Unionism. And we made up part of that vote, that 17.4 plus million vote. And yet, why is it that our vote isn't respected and everybody else's vote is actually respected? So let's play on and let's hear what Arlene had to say to this.
But why would you engage in self-harm, is the point that I'm making to you.
One person's self-harm may be another person's democratic right. They may say things differently. That's the story of life. We look at things differently. And I know you've said in the past that if United Ireland ever came about, that you'd up sticks, you'd leave.
Yeah.
We're neighbours.
Mm-hmm. We are.
I'm from Sligo, you're from Fermanagh. I like to think that whatever comes in the future, that you'd stay here and that you'd feel welcome here, that you'd have the right to remain comfortable here. Is it still your position that if there was a United Ireland, you'd get up and go?
Well, because I don't think that I would feel comfortable, and that's why I think I would leave, because what is the point of staying in a place where you don't feel comfortable and where your identity would not be something that would be respected? I mean, I can't see how I can be British living in the place that I love, Fermanagh, if I was in a United Ireland, because by very definition, you're no longer British because you're living in an all-Ireland state.
Okay, just a point about that. Now, you all heard what Arlene had to say, and that was just at the weekend. It might have been at the end of last week whenever that interview was done, but I think it only came out on Saturday from my recollection. Now, here's the leader of unionism, the current leader of British unionism, that is saying that if there comes a so-called New Ireland, a United Ireland, whatever type of Ireland that it is that they want to call it. And here's the current leader of Northern Ireland Unionism. And what is it that she's saying? She's saying that if there ever was a new Ireland, well, she would get up and she would go. And yet, I would level the charge right now. It is by her actions, by Arlene Foster's own actions, that is taking us down a road where we don't want to go. And yet, whenever she takes us there, she's going to leave. She's going to get up. She's going to go. And you know, I can remember the words by Edward Carson. You know, whenever he talks about that we were only humble rungs in a ladder that helped the DUP into power. And I'm changing some of the words here. And when we help the DUP into power, they kick away the ladder with no concern for what it is that happens to the people that they actually leave behind. Now, I'm going to ask a question here, and I'm going to pose a question to each and every person that is watching this right now and that comes to watch this in the future. And we must get a poll going on this. But is that the type of leader that should be in place right now? Fighting the corner for British Unionism in Northern Ireland, fighting the corner in order to try to maintain Northern Ireland's place within the United Kingdom, fighting the corner in order to, by extension, save the rest of the United Kingdom, because this is the protocol right now that is doing the union of the United Kingdom the most harm. And yet here we have what I can see, and this is not an attack on Arlene Foster. This is me simply stating that she's not up to the job, that by her own words, that she definitely isn't the type of person that should be trusted to steer the good ship British Unionism here in Northern Ireland. And I would be of the thought process that the DUP will actually dispense with Arlene Foster, but they won't do it until coming up to the next elections. Because then what they will do is they'll try to pass the blame to Arlene, and they'll say that it wasn't us, you know, and they'll put somebody else in place, whether that be Nigel Dodds, whether that be, who knows, Jeffrey Donaldson, Edwin Poots, whoever. You know, somebody else will take the place, and they'll try to say that it wasn't their fault. But it is their fault, because they are presiding alongside, walking step by step in every way, shape or form, along with Arlene Foster. And unfortunately, those footsteps are walking towards this thing, this concept, which is called a new Ireland. And just listen to her. You know, and I've nothing against the lady, right? I know that she's under a great deal of pressure. But the truth of the matter is that she's not up to the job. She has stated quite clearly that if she makes a mess of it, she'll get up and she'll go. She should be out of that job tomorrow. Tomorrow, you know, and the DUP should be begging for forgiveness and changing their ways and fighting meaningfully, proactively, in a way that defends, protects and enhances Northern Ireland's place within the United Kingdom. We are not only fighting for Northern Ireland right now in Northern Ireland, we are fighting to maintain, to save the entire United Kingdom. That's what we're doing. Make no mistake, that's how serious this is, and that's how insincere the person at the helm of good ship unionism, good ship British Unionism here in Northern Ireland is. By your own words, you actually heard them for yourself. And that's not the first time that those words have come out. That is the second time in public. Goodness knows how many times that they've come out in private. So, as a reasonable person, I would like to talk to some high-ranking member of the DUP. I would like for them to come on this channel, and I would like for them to explain themselves, explain their logic, explain how it is that they think that they're winning the hearts and minds, explain how it is that they think that they're maintaining the electorate within close proximity in a way that is going to ensure that there's not going to be a huge disconnect. Because right now, those people are disconnecting so many people within the British Unionist fraternity here in Northern Ireland. And they're doing so in a way which is, are you ready for it? Which is embarrassing. Totally embarrassing. I mean, they're like paper bags in the wind that they're blown into every way, shape, and fashion. They're being directed right now by the mainstream media. If the mainstream media say something, the DUP are working to the mainstream media's agenda. You know, I'm going to use another phrase which I've used many times before with reference to some of the DUP members, and they are politically castrated and they're rendered impotent. They won't get up off their knees and they won't begin a fight back. Now, I would expect that they can hold their own. I would expect that they can use words in a way that they can show that they mean business. In fact, I know that they can use those words because they've used them against me in the past. But they don't seem to want to offend anyone. And I just wonder why. I'm trying to scratch the surface and rationalize why that it is that they won't fight back meaningfully and proactively. And, you know, it's hard to understand why that it is that they're doing what they're doing. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to play another little video. Now, I played this video just over the weekend, and you know, I'm going to say this stream shouldn't be about the DUP and about the inactions of the DUP every single time that we come on. It really shouldn't be. But you know, I've talked to some people, not just the people that help us in the background. I've talked to other people, and by popular demand, people are asking me to continue to talk about this. And in fact, when I was drifting away from it, there were some people, even people that join our stream, that were saying that we need to focus on this issue, which is of paramount importance right now. And that issue is having the Northern Ireland Protocol removed, pushing our politicians into the position whereby that they make the only meaningful proactive protest that is available to them right now. And the only party that can make a difference right now is the DUP. And the DUP, in my honest opinion, and I've talked to some very political minds, let's just say, you know, smart political minds, and they're saying that the protocol has to be broke. If the protocol isn't broke, it's going to break us, and then it'll break the entire United Kingdom. So we have to rid ourselves of that protocol. Now, I realise that there's a court case that's coming up. In fact, there's several people that are jostling for position. We'll know, I think it's on the 12th of April, who it is that's actually going to be going forward and taking that court case, because there's 3 cases in right now. And we'll know on the 12th of April. And it's set for May, the court case. So we do have our eye locked on that. But then I wonder, the DUP are part of that court case. Arlene Foster was named on the media last week, actually in first position, when the media said that Arlene Foster, David Trimble, and then it went into Ben Habib, Kate Hoey, and it finished with Jim, and then it mentioned was Steve Aiken, and then it mentioned Jim Allister way down at the end of the packing list. Now that's how the media actually see things. They have their preferences on how that they would like to name things. They didn't put Jim Allister at the top of that because Jim Allister is a man that continues to highlight the things that need to be highlighted. That's just how Jim Allister does things. Again, I'm just looking at one of the live chats here, and I'm just going to read from it. John, you can't even see them on the street now, never mind getting them on your show. We'd love to see it, but I haven't seen my local DUP since the last elections. It's a disgrace. You see, that's the type of thing that many people are saying right now about the DUP. But we can't let them away with this. We won't let them away with this. We have to put these people fairly and squarely behind the 8 ball. and they have to make the only meaningful and proactive protest that they can make right now. And for the longer that they leave this protocol in place, I said it the other day, what is happening right now is the trade that used to be going to the rest of the United Kingdom, it is now being reorientated, and it's now going through Dublin, and it's being fed from the European Union. And they'll be getting these sweetheart deals, they'll be getting their goods at reasonable prices in order to suck them in. And a lot of that trade will never, ever go back to the United Kingdom. And I often wonder, is this what the game plan is? Is this what the strategy is? Is this the method by which that we will all be pushed into globalization? Is this the method by which that the Conservative government are permitting the breakup of the United Kingdom? You know, I remember a few weeks ago we had Ben Habib on this very screen. And, you know, whenever Ben had said that he tried to contemplate why it is that Boris done what he done, in the knowledge that he will break up the United Kingdom through this protocol. And Ben Habib actually says, well, he wondered, did Boris even know what it said or what the Belfast Agreement meant? And then he came to the conclusion, well, obviously he did know, obviously his advisors did know, but he reckoned that the Conservative government actually took the opinion that Northern Ireland was a price worth paying in order that they could claim to people in England, Scotland and Wales that they delivered on Brexit. When in actual fact, they didn't, because it was a bit like kicking the can down the road, because what's happening with this protocol right now will come back and bite the Conservatives on the bum. It will destroy the United Kingdom, and we need to remove this. If they don't see it, we have to fight for it. You know, and if our politicians won't fight for it, well, we have to drag them kicking and screaming into the position whereby that they stand up and they take this fight and they do this in a meaningful, proactive way. So we're going to go to another little video, and then what we will do, it's nearly the top of the hour. We'll finish for a moment or two with the DUP. We'll go on to talk about a few other things, and then what we'll do is we'll go to the live chat. So I'm going to ask the live chat, you know, if you could tell us where it is that you're visiting from. I mean, what part of the country are you from? What part of the United Kingdom are you from? Just tell us whereabouts that you're from. Also, if you could tell us that, you know, do you enjoy the platform? Is there any alterations that we could make to make the platform a better platform? Yes, of course, that I know that guests on the platform always make for a better platform. But there were certain things over the past few days and weeks that we had to do in order to be able to highlight things. And again, what we're going to do is that we're going to be coming back with more guests in the very, very, very near future. And there's some good guests that we've asked. There's some guests that has even sent us messages and asking, could they come on, and they would love to contribute to our channel. And we're going to take them up on the offer. And these are people that you people would be very, very glad to listen to. So again, we're going to go on with another video here before that we come back. And right, okay, over to the next video. Now, this was a video that surfaced over the weekend. And again, we're going to dissect it, and we're going to point out, and again, this isn't about, as I say, this isn't about attacking the DUP, because there's many good members within the DUP. But this is trying to push a reality check to these people, that they are making a complete mess of things, that they can't win the hearts and minds within the media. Here's a very important part, people, before we play this video. I have it in good authority, and I've had it for many years, that the DUP actually see the mainstream media as a constituency, quote unquote. You know, people to win their hearts and minds. So the media constituency. And the truth of the matter is that mainstream media, they don't like conservative voices. They don't like some of the policies that the DUP actually stand up for. And they're trying to win something which is unachievable. Totally unachievable. So There you go. That's how good their strategy is. It's a bit like the PSNI trying to win the hearts and minds within the Republican nationalist community. Not so much the nationalist community, because there are some decent people within the nationalist community, but certainly the Republican community. It doesn't actually work that way, but yet they continue to try to do that, and they continue to discriminate against British Unionists in the process. So here we go. We're going to play another video here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk to the live chat.
The Northern Ireland Protocol means that Northern Ireland is still operating under EU rules, with the EU treating Britain as a third country. And Edwin Poots says that means that there's an opportunity for Northern Irish businesses to branch out.
An awful lot of material that is sold in the Great Britain market is imported from the European Union. We can obviously sell to the Great Britain market without the restrictions that would be for European Union countries. And our climate is actually excellent for plants, for cut flowers, etc. So, we have very easy access to markets, for example, the Greater Manchester market, which is a huge population. And if we have the skills, the soil types, and all of that there put together, there is great business opportunities to export plants, to export cut flowers and other items to the Great Britain market.
That was the Agriculture Minister, Edwin Poots.
So there's Edwin. And again, this is all about language. This is all about the sort of things that we as British Unionists, that we notice, that we hear, that we see, and that we are absolutely frustrated with the type of language which is coming out of these people's mouths. I mean, Edwin said, in case you didn't hear it, he talked about that he wants to encourage people here in Northern Ireland to export to the Great Britain market. He wants to export from Northern Ireland to another part of the United Kingdom. Do you know, I nearly fell off my seat when I heard that. But again, this is how the DUP are doing things. And, is that like an acceptance that the protocol is here? And as many people suspect, because we did hear Arlene say that herself just after the Christmas time there, whenever the protocol came into place at the start of the year, Arlene Foster said words to the effect, and I paraphrase, well, it's here, and we better get on with working within it. And we do know that they were working within it. We do know that Edwin was working within it. We do know that Arlene Foster was sitting in Armagh with Michelle O'Neill and the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Simon Coveney, working out the mechanism by which the protocol could be implemented. And if it hadn't have been for ordinary grassroots members of the British Unionist community standing up, and again, I'm going to quote this lodge, it was Market Hill Lodge that wrote a letter, and then that sort of created a snowball effect, and came right down to the Grand Lodge. That what they did was they wrote a letter, and they all opposed the protocol. So right now we have British Unionists who totally oppose this protocol, it's been implemented in a non-democratic way, and it discriminates against our people. So we are all against this protocol. We all want it removed. It is there illegally. I mean, why should we accept a border in the North Channel whenever we won the referendum, and whenever 3 constituent parts of the United Kingdom are being treated different than us? I mean, we don't have to accept this. We won't accept it. We won't let our politicians accept it. And that's why we're here holding their feet to the fire. That's why we're here complaining whenever Edwin Poots is saying that he's going to encourage people here to export to other parts of the United Kingdom. I mean, can you believe what that man just said? So that rules Edwin out for any future leadership role within British Unionism, in my honest opinion. Maybe you'd leave me on the live chat there. I mean, who would trust Edwin Poots to run British Unionism in the future? Leave us your messages. Leave a message for Edwin, because Edwin, just there, he was caught talking up the values of the protocol. And that was in a week whenever his own department were placing ads in the local newspapers looking for people to come and implement the border in the North Channel, the border in the Irish Sea. And again, ask the question, people, and I have to emphasise this, ask the question, if this was Sinn Féin, if this was the leaders of republicanism or nationalism, would they be put, and they had the ministry that was in charge of hiring people to work the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland? Tell me that you think those people would be doing what Edwin Poots is doing. We all know the answer. We definitely all know the answer. So again, look, keep the live chat going, keep the messages flowing for the DUP, because the DUP have to see this. And again, I'm appealing to the DUP. This isn't about, a kicking exercise against the DUP. This is pointing out clearly the inactions of these people, the very fact that they're just disenfranchising the electorate, that they're dislodging the entire unionist community from the rest of the United Kingdom. They're facilitating the border in the North Channel, and they're implementing the workings of the protocol, and they're not using language in a way that is befitting of someone that calls themselves British Unionist leadership. So people, what we're going to do right now, it's the top of the hour, and we're going to play something. And whenever we play this, we'll come back and we'll change on to another subject, and we'll have a couple of more things that we want to discuss, and we'll go to the live chat, and we'll be finishing in around 9:30 or shortly after. You know that we always cheat. We always go a wee bit further, so we do. And that's because that the numbers are staying high, and that's also because that the live chat, as it flows, we would like to give everybody their say. And yeah, there's going to be some changes here in the very, very near future. I've talked about it before, but circumstances have meant that we've been concentrating on other things. But we've been talking in the background, and we really do have to get our fingers out, and we really have to create that phone in that we wanted to do, and we will do. So okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play something else here, and I'm going to play this. Really, as a right. Firstly, I'm going to say something. The Dark 11th Hour, a poem by Rudyard Kipling, back, in and around the sort of, the turn of the century, 100 years ago, or just over 100 years ago, thereabouts. This poem came into being. And again, the words of that poem, they're very, very significant for what it is that's happening today here in Northern Ireland. So I'm going to play this whilst I get set up for talking about something else whenever we come back with another couple of subjects to do. So again, over to the poem.
The dark 11th hour draws on and sees us sold to every evil power we fought against of old. Rebellion, rapine, hate, oppression, wrong and greed are loosened to rule our fate by England's act and deed. The faith in which we stand, the laws we made and guard, our honour, lives and land are given for reward. To murder done by night, to treason taught by day, to folly, sloth and spite, and we are thrust away. The blood our fathers spilt, our love, our toils, our pains, are counted us for guilt and only bind our chains. Before an empire's eyes, the traitor claims his price. What need of further lies? We are the sacrifice. We ask no more than leave to reap where we had sown, through good and ill to cleave to our own flag and throne. Now England's shot and steel beneath that flag must show how loyal hearts should kneel to England's oldest foe. We know the wars prepared on every peaceful home. We know the hells declared for such as served not Rome. The terror, threats and dread in market, hearth and field We know when all is said, we perish if we yield. Believe we dare not boast. Believe we do not fear. We stand to pay the cost in all that men hold dear. What answer from the north? One law, one land, one throne. If England drives us forth, we shall not fall alone.
Okay, people. So we're going to move on, and yeah. So look, there's a man that's on our screen, and I'm telling you what, I'm just going to pop him up. So talk. More bull and more crap. We all know the betrayal. What is Ulster's people going to do about it? Sadly, nothing. I'll talk. More bull and crap. Trying to hold the DUP to account. Mark this. Not trying to steer people towards prison or anywhere else for that matter. You know, working smart, not hard. So we'll take no lectures on what it is that we're doing here. If you don't like it, you know what to do. You can switch off. You don't have to be here. So there you go. That was just a message for you. But anyway, it was the more bull and crap that really stuck out there. So we thought that we had to sort of tackle that at least. Good luck. Anyway, before we move on, here we go. So I tell you, we Isabel Montgomery, a lady that normally comes to your screen, she had asked me about a certain issue just last week, and she'll be in fair play to Isabel. She comes and she gives you all sorts of things. She shows you things that is happening. And that's just one person in the background there that would be helping us on a daily basis with asking us to see articles, asking people to hear about this, and so on and so forth. So there was an issue that she brought to me last week, and I have to say, whenever I see this, this is something that I was very, very happy to become involved in and involved with. So, we heard about this really on Thursday night. Now, I knew that it was going on, but I had never, ever come close to the people that were actually fighting for something, fighting to maintain something. So what I did was that on Saturday, it happened that quick. I had a phone call with the man on Friday, and we went and we met him on Saturday in a socially distancing way, and we heard all about the plight of this man and of his group, and how that it is that our own politicians don't seem to be standing on the side of this. I'm just going to play a short video. There'll be a bit of music playing through it, and there'll be some pictures, and there's nothing. We're not talking on the video, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about this issue whenever we come back, and we'll talk about what we know, and also we're going to ask people here if they would also like to support this, like to get behind this, and like to insist that our politicians actually, this is somewhere else where our politicians are lacking, where they're not fighting meaningfully and proactively in a way that would defend, protect, and enhance, I say, this very part of our history that should never, ever be on the verge or on the cusp of being destroyed. So I'm just going to play this video.
It was a morning in July in 1690. Two great armies were converging on the River Boyne. On the left you had King James of Scotland with 26,000 men. James arrived at the Boyne first and set up his great tents and cannons, and he waited. On the other side you had King William, Prince of Orange, with 30,000 men. As William rolled through the narrow country lanes of Ireland on that hot sunny July morning in 1690, he was armed with the latest in artillery that day. Finally, William too arrived at the Boyne and set up camp and prepared to do battle. Then at 8 o'clock on the morning of the 1st of July 1690, the Battle of the Boyne started. The fighting lasted throughout the day until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. "1,500 men were killed on that day. James fled the battlefield and William, Prince of Orange, was victorious. Sound your drum and flash your sword. Wade into King James's ford. Watch the wind and thrust the Lord, or we'll die for our Isle, William. On Boyne's great shore, that glorious day, 30,000 that beat their way. For Orange we fight, and for Orange we'll say, we'll die for our Isle, William. Sound your drum, flash your sword. Wade into King James's ford. Watch the wind and thrust the Lord, or we'll die for our Isle, William.
Yeah, so there you go. The Boyne Bridge, which crosses into Sandy Row, and it's a hugely significant piece of our history. And you know, from what I gather is that was the thoroughfare if you were heading from where King William landed in Carrickfergus, if you were heading to Dublin on his way to the Battle of the Boyne. There was an encampment there. You know, which was Sandy Row, and they stayed there, they encamped there, they maintained the bridge because that bridge was an essential line to keep things flowing, and it later became known as the Boyne Bridge. And what I can gather is that there was a bridge that was put there, and they called it the 1640s bridge, from what I gather about it. Again, I've had to do this history in the last few days. I know that I knew a bit about it. I'm trying to dig in properly. So there is an old bridge which is below. I'm just going to put a picture up here, which is below that existing structure that we've just shown, which was built in 1932, and it was built incorporating two of the arches of the original bridge. So even that bridge, even that newer form of bridge, it has a huge historical significance to Northern Ireland, and it should never be permitted to be taken away. It should never be under threat. And right here today, as a result of a new transport hub for TransLink, it is under threat. And there's some people in the Sandy Row area, Billy Dixon and friends, and they're trying to save the bridge, and they have been trying to save the bridge, and they have been trying to garner support from the politicians. And there's a local politician there called Christopher Stolford. And again, I said it the other day that we need to find out from Christopher Stolford, who is an MLA, what it is that they intend to do about maintaining that bridge. And what I gather from Billy in talking to him, that there is even, would you believe it, there are people in West Belfast who you know really gets the heritage and the history and the huge significance of that bridge, and they want to save it. You know, ordinary nationalists in West Belfast who are into the history of things, and they want to save it. But seemingly, our own British Unionist politicians are seemingly turning a blind eye. Whilst this part of our history could be lost and could be gone forever. And, you know, I think that's totally, it's a shame. It's totally unacceptable, and it should never, ever be permitted to happen. So again, I just want to show you a few pictures of the bridge. I'll just pop them up here and we'll speak about it. So again, that's the old bridge. I mean, it's hard to tell whenever that photo came around. As you can see, it's quite an old picture. But you know, all these lamps and so on, which were gas lamps at one stage, obviously, they were all in place. And the new structure was built in 1932. And as I say, apparently this structure incorporates 2 arches from the design of the original bridge. And then what I'll do now is I'm going to take us down and onto the bridge here just to show you something. You see, you know, sort of right of where I'm standing, looking up at the metal casings and whatnot, down and under there, they created a borehole and they drilled down and they found some parts of the original bridge, which is actually down and under there. And then whenever I talk to Billy Dixon, you know, there's a lot of things that what the Save the Boyne Bridge people are asking for. I mean, they're saying that, you know, strip it back, keep that structure which is there, which is in place, which has been there from 1932, and, you know, keep it in the name of the Boyne Bridge, and make more of a tourist trail of it, of a feature of it, showing our history for everyone to see, for future generations to see. But there seems to be a vested interest in removing that bridge, and you can only understand why. I mean, I would say that it's people that would have a vested interest in trying to remove that, you know, because there's certain people in Northern Ireland right now that don't want anything to do with British Unionists or, you know, Protestant or Ulster Scots culture about the place. You know, they seem to want to remove everything to do with our identity and put in place things to do with their own identity. And this is why this bridge must be fought for, and it must be fought for properly. So again, we aim to take this up. We aim to go to the relevant people. We need to try to find out who it is that will help us, that will help Billy Dixon, that will get behind the team in the Sandy Row area that's trying to save this bridge. And yeah, they have had no luck, and they're not getting any answers from the politicians right now. Which again shows you that these politicians, they only want to get involved in what it is that they want to get involved in, and the other things which is important to ordinary people, well, seemingly they don't want to become involved in them. So I'll just show you another picture from the bridge. And this is really, you know, looking from the top of the bridge, you know, and out towards the Grosvenor Road there. Now, looking at the plans, because we've got some photocopies of the plans, the anticipated plans for the area, and they're talking about removing the bridge, and then they're talking about the road. I mean, this road here, it's now called the Boyne Bridge, and the name. There's a name change even in the plans, you know, as if that the history of the Boyne Bridge is some people are seeking to remove it completely. And if that was, all I'm saying is that if that was on the nationalist or Republican end of the spectrum, that would never, ever, ever be happening. You can mark my word, that would just never be happening. So that's something else that we need to become involved in, and we need to stand alongside these people, Billy Dixon and his friends, whenever they're trying to save the heritage. And they've made, you know, they've made so many different proposals, you know, and they're making it easy for these people to make a decision to keep that part of our history and our heritage and our culture, to keep it, but no one seems to be listening. It's just like many, many things within British Unionism today. It doesn't seem that you're listening to, and it doesn't seem as if you have the tactical support from your British Unionist people in power. And again, that's something that's totally unfortunate. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to go to the live chat. And again, this is something else I want you to do, is that if you're, if you'd like to help us try to get behind the push to push the politicians to stand up meaningfully and proactively in a way that defends, protects and enhances the Boyne Bridge, and it protects that heritage and that history for future generations to see. If you'd like to get behind this, well, leave us a message on the live chat, and at least that we know that we've got people's support to try to help us maintain this piece of our history. So I'm going to go back to the start here of the live chat, and we're going to go through the live chat for a moment or two. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to play another little song, just so that I can get lined up, and we'll come back in a few moments, and we'll commence with the live chat, and we'll be closing down within 10 to 15 minutes. So again, thanks very much for everyone that has stayed with us to date, and thanks for listening. And I hope what you see, it's of interest to you the same way that it is to us. So I'm going to play a song here. I mean, it's a cut version of this song, and I just happen to think this song is a really, really nice song. And what it will do is it'll let me get lined up onto something else.
Well, I walked towards the old town hall with a group of my mates by my side. Well, to join up the Ulster Division. Well, they knew I was young, but I lied. But arriving in Europe, well, it hit me the reality of what I would do. I would clamor all the trench ladder when the captain his whistle he blew. Well, tonight as I lie in my dugouts, well, I'm cold and encased in the mud. Well, I long to be with you, my darling. Well, to hold you and to warm up my blood. We would walk hand in hand through old Belfast, through the streets that I love, Sandy Road. But I know that this will never happen, for tomorrow to the battle I'll go. Yes, remember, I'll always will love you. Tell my mom, my dad, just the same. Well, I'm afraid like the lads here beside me, none in France I will surely remain. Well, I'll fight and I'll die for old Ulster, for the England and the red, white and blue. Don't disturb me, lads, I am writing to my girl back in Belfast, so true. Well, she broke her wee heart when I left her. Well, my Ulster, I'll do this for you. So I bid you good night now, my darling, for it's dark and I can't seem to write. Yes, remember the Ulster Division, for the Ulster will always be right. Yes, remember the Ulster Division, oh, the Ulster will always be right.
So there we go. Look, again, before we move on with other things here, I would just like you to ponder the question here by Eddie Torney. Does anyone agree with Arling that it's best to leave Northern Ireland if we have a united Ireland? Maybe you'd leave some messages in the live chat and tell us what you think and answer to Eddie's question. So I'll say it again. Does anyone think or agree with Arling that it's best to leave Northern Ireland if we have a so-called united Ireland? I'm going nowhere, by the way. I'm here to remain, is the truth of the matter. And, you know, there can never be a united Ireland. A united Ireland, that takes united people. And you can't have united people whenever you have Republican movement, whenever you have the Sinn Féiners, whenever they continue to add insult to the injury that they've already created with the victims. Well, we all know the story. We all know the story. So I'm going to slip down here to the bottom of the chat because I did see a couple of people there explaining something. And what I want to do is I want to actually put these on our screen. So here we go. The man in question, William, good man for coming along to watch this evening. And as you see, we prepared a little video, and I really thank you for coming along to talk with us on Saturday. And I have to say that we're going to begin the process of going to these politicians, and starting with Christopher Stalford, and then moving up the chain and we're going to, you know, we'll start off, we'll go through to Emma Pengelly, which is in Arlene Foster's office. Emma is a special advisor of Arlene Foster, and we're going to ask one question, simply one question. Is there any reason why that bridge should be dispensed with, should be erased, should be removed from the face of Northern Ireland? And is there any reason why that it shouldn't be saved, when it shouldn't, where it shouldn't be maintained, and that we would have that history for future generations to see? And in a way, I mean, these people need to get up off their knees and they need to begin a fight back to maintain this bridge in a way that they defend, protect, and I quote unquote, that they enhance what it is that's there with the history. And maybe, you know, I mean, I listened to what was happening in the Belfast City Hall this morning. Whenever nationalists and Republicans, they won't permit the Northern Ireland British Unionists to have a small monument to the centenary of it Stormont, and yet they're placing the plaque at the City Hall for James Connolly. And this plaque's meant to be interactive, where people can come along and hear the history. You see, William, that's what we should be aiming for with the bridge, is that not only should it be defended, protected, and enhanced by way of some of this modern technology, where people can come along and they can hear in an interactive way the story of the bridge and why that it has such a huge significance, and why that it is that it should be remaining there for future generations to see. And that's the problem with British Unionism. They are working in a way that they seem to have, excuse this expression, but joined the other team to score goals against themselves when they're allowing these things to be removed and be erased from the history. So William, thanks very much for coming along, and I hope to have you, by the way, on the screen here very, very soon. And it can be done in this way, where you don't have to leave the comfort of your own home, and maybe you would like to come on and tell people all about the fight, all about your efforts over the years, and all about the people that have stood with you in order to try to maintain this part of our culture and our history. And it's a very, very worthy cause that you're involved in. And yeah, you've got our support, and I can already see that there's people on the screen here that is saying that if there's any help that they can give, well, they're going to give us it too. So again, thanks for coming along, William. And don't be a stranger, by the way, and we will talk to you about perhaps getting you on here, and we can have a proper chat about it. So here we go. Yes, I'll just see something there again from you, William, as I'm looking. Sorry, let's see, just going down the live chat. There's not much live chat here. I'm looking at all different screens, so bear with me. Yes, early bridges. I'm just going to pop this up for the purpose of the people. But the early bridges, 1611 and 1642, Bourne Bridge, 1936, incorporating the early bridges. So there we go. That's the history. That's the man that knows all about the history. And that's the man that we would like to help see this through and see this through to a successful conclusion, no doubt. And many thanks to Isabel Montgomery for making the introduction between myself and William. Thank you for that. So again, back to the live chat here. There's Jean Niblock Nelson there. And that's referring to Eddie Torney's question, is, I mean, if there was a so-called United Ireland, would you leave Northern Ireland? You're absolutely right. You'll be going nowhere. I'll stand and fight my ground and fight for my faith. George, there we go. There's another man that believes that they shouldn't be going anywhere. Unfortunately, this has been going on from 1969. IRA still here. Top government positions and trying to go now. Yeah. There's Ken Crawford there. You got to excuse me. I've got to read these comments before I put them on the screen, because we've got to sort of try to ensure that they're not going to get up anybody's noses or annoy anybody. Not that they would, but, you know, and sometimes we maybe agree with what's being said, but we can't actually put it on our screen. So, yeah, disgusting. Unfortunately, this has been going on from 1969. IRA still here in top government positions and trying to take over Northern Ireland. Well, we can't argue with those words, but the problem is that, you see, this is being, there's a blind eye being turned by our own politicians, and I would like to see politicians in place that was capable and you know, that was willing to stand up for, to fight for our survival in a meaningful, proactive way. I just like saying that, because that it really suggests it all in a nutshell. Fighting for our survival meaningfully and proactively in a way that defends, protects, and enhances our place in the United Kingdom for another 100 years. Yeah, we want to see another anniversary at the end. Well, not me, but certainly the people that comes after us. But we do want to see those another 100 years. So there's Carl Porter. No way. I take it you're going nowhere, Carl. Yeah, like everybody else. Or would it be better to fight and we would have nothing to lose? Yeah, there we go. Well, again, Eddie, I'm going to talk about something. You see me where I talked to a man there earlier on, and I would always advise that what we do is we try to do things in a way that we work smart, not hard. And, you know, and if we did have the buy-in and the, you know, the undivided help and the attention of our politicians, you know, we could achieve a great deal. But the trouble with British Unionism here in Northern Ireland is that, you know, there's a lot of people have their own agendas and they're going off in their own ways and they're doing side deals for this and that and the other, and they're you know, they're furnishing their own nest. But little do they know that is tantamount to joining the other team to scoring goals against yourself, because what you're doing by doing that is, or what they are doing is, they are disenfranchising the electorate. And, you know, and then they cry that there's some places, some areas where you can't get people out to vote, because people have said to me personally that why would we vote for them people? You know, what, you give them their vote and they do what they want anyway. And that's what causes the you know, the huge disengagement between the politicians and the people. And we tried to set up a people-politician partnership just last year, and it was working well until the COVID restrictions actually hit. And just in the last few days, there are some people in authority that has came to us again and asked us to try to get that resurrected. And look, we're going to have a go at it. We are going to have a go at it, and we're going to try to put it together. And we're hoping that we can trade our politicians kicking and screaming into the position whereby that they realise that they actually have to begin working for the people. And they have to be working for the people in a way that is acceptable to the people. So, yeah, that's what we need. So, again, look, whenever politics fails, Eddie, what else can people do? You know, I mean, we are being illegally dealt with in terms of, I mean, a lot of us voted for Brexit, and we're not having the same democracy as people in England, Scotland, and Wales, which is a corruption of democracy, which is discrimination against the people who did vote for Brexit. I mean, we made up, and I'll say it again, part of the 17.4 plus million people, and yet our democracy is not being delivered in the same way as people in England and Scotland and Wales. So that is a total corruption, and it needs to be challenged, and it needs to be challenged, I think, in the only way, the only meaningful, proactive way that it can be challenged in right now. And I know that there's a court case, but yes, in tandem with the court case, I believe that the DUP, the only party can make this protest properly, should be saying that we're not going to be working with anything that flows from the Belfast Agreement until the Belfast Agreement is taken back to the place where it was meant to work for British Unionists as well as others. And right now it's not working for British Unionists. I mean, what did Brandon Lewis do? Brandon Lewis, he altered the text of the Northern Ireland Order. That was the legislation that flowed from the Belfast Agreement. And what he altered that in order to take away the cross-community consent aspect in order to get this protocol through. So that in itself was a corruption. It was a total corruption. And what it did, in my view, it made the Belfast Agreement null and void. That's an agreement that doesn't work for us. That was an agreement that was written in the form of constructive ambiguity, and that was admitted on national television by Jonathan Powell, who was Tony Blair's chief aide at the time, whenever they were doing underhand deals with the Republicans, whenever they were giving out, letters of comfort, Queen's pardons, all of these things aside from the Belfast Agreement. So don't tell me that British Unionists were treated fair as a result of that Belfast Agreement. And here's something for you. Mervyn Gibson, I didn't know this, but Mervyn Gibson says that the actual figures, the breakdowns properly of who voted where and when in that Belfast Agreement in 1998, those figures have never been released by the Northern Ireland office. And you could ask yourself a question, why? The reality is that it didn't have cross-community support, because most of the people that I knew didn't vote for that agreement. There were some people that voted for it, and there were some people that wanted peace and hoped for peace and thought it was a good opportunity to have peace. But then whenever we seen the IRA plant a bomb in Canary Wharf in February of 1996, and whenever we seen that they had to be brought back into the process and they had to be given pleasantries to get them back into the process after having caused £500 million worth of damage in the docklands in London, well, that was the point when I realised, when I believe that others should have realised, that the so-called peace process became an appeasement process, and it has never ever stopped from that day to this. And again, I'll quote that a few years ago in the markets and in Short Strand, the Republicans, the people that are attached to Sinn Féin with the private army outside the door, what did they do? They murdered 2 people. That's what they did. The chief constable actually stated this quite clearly just a few years ago. And the people in our government remained in our government whilst their friends in their terrorist organisation, whilst they murdered 2 people. And I can clearly say that because that was an assessment by the then chief constable of the PSNI. And that winds people up. That shows that this is a process, a one-sided process. And that's why that we would expect of our leaders, the DUP, we would expect them to say that we're having no part of this until there's a level playing field, until that this is functioning in the way that it was meant to function in the first place. Because right now it is a totally corruption. It is a corruption, and it's definitely not working for British Unionists. That's a definite. So, Eddie, I would advise that violence would have to be something that would caution against. But yeah, I can see how people are so frustrated about things that they're thinking, well, politics isn't delivering, party political machines isn't delivering, party political machines leadership isn't delivering. Well, they're certainly not delivering for British Unionism. They're certainly not delivering for Northern Ireland's place in the United Kingdom. And by extension, they're certainly not delivering for the rest of the United Kingdom whenever the protocol will eventually break up the United Kingdom. And maybe that's what these politicians have planned. But I believe they should get up with their backsides, they should get up with their knees, and they should begin a fight back. So yeah, just going down some of the live chat here, and then we'll be closing very soon. And we've cheated again. We've went over 10 minutes, but again, whenever the messages on the live chat is good, it's always best to let people have their say. Yeah, and that's definite. So he's a long time coming forward to support the Boyne Bridge defenders, right? Okay. Yeah, and yes, of course. And I think you're talking about Christopher Stalford and the rest of the man. Absolutely, yeah. Understand what you're saying. But look, yeah, you have our undivided attention in order to try to push forward this, to progress this, and to ask these politicians to come and to explain why that it is that we're not fighting tirelessly to ensure that this Boyne Bridge actually stays in place and it's enhanced as a part of our history and as a place, a go-to place for people to go for educational value. So yeah, that's a definite on. Good Friday Agreement, full of holes, that has done nothing for the community and benefit of Republicans. It needs to go and now. Jim, I can align with those words, and that is definite. You know, I mean, I would like to see that at least them threatening this Belfast Agreement, walking away, saying that we're going to be no more part of it until that things are, you know, I'm going to say suspend it, and not to go back until that British Unionism is treated with respect, the respect that they truly deserve. So I'm going again down through the live chat here as we go. Georgia Biggerstaff, too right, girl. Again, Georgia, I didn't see your message there. I'm going to go back to see. Will it come on their 30-year rule when they have to publish it? Oh yes, there you go, Barbara. I don't think, you see, as far as Mervyn Gibson was saying to me, he said that the Northern Ireland office haven't published the actual breakdown. And then they'll not want us to know the breakdown properly, because then we would be clearly saying, well, Unionists didn't vote for it. And that was the whole premise of that agreement, where they were saying it's your decision, you know. So many people across community support and everybody voted for it. Well, the dogs in the street knew that many British Unionists were totally unhappy with the appeasement process that had begun and has continued for and on behalf of the pro-Republican movement. I've still heard anyone who voted yes for the Good Friday Agreement. Gregory, good to see you. Yeah, Gregory, not many people I know voted for it either. Yeah, there were some loyalists and some Unionists attached to the UUP and so on, but there was a lot of the UUP that actually bailed from the UUP. So I would say by the time it came around to be voted for, I would say that it had lost a huge amount of support. And any party that supported it, well, you look where they are now. Look where they are as political leaders right now. And then DUP, I mean, they threatened to smash it, didn't they? And look what they're doing now. They're doing more damage than anyone with the way that they're operating, as we clearly showed at the start of this screen. So, yes, there's Georgie again, and that's in reference to Anne. Yeah, I can see that indeed, Anne. Very disappointing, sadly. And here we go. We're just going to go down some more of this live chat. Good Friday was a lot of... Jackie Boyd, you're right. I'm not putting that on the screen, but yes, Good Friday was a lot of... I'll just do that. Beep, 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 beep. We can't say that. If they don't want to rush, let me see. If they don't want us to know, they never publish it. Richard. That's how it goes, Richard, and that's sort of unfortunate. That's the way that it goes. Yeah, Good Friday Agreement. What the hell was good about it? Yeah, there was nothing good about it. Well, I believe it's Good Friday here this Friday, the 2nd of April. And, you know, if I had my way, well, what I would be doing is that I would be walking away from that agreement on the day that it came into being, and I wouldn't be going back anywhere near it again until such times as the rights of British Unionists would be respected. And that's how I would do things. But our weak-willed politicians, they don't seem to have the guts for doing something like that. They really, really don't. Maybe they think that they're going to become irrelevant themselves if they do. But it's not going to help British Unionism if they don't, is the truth of the matter. So anyway, look, all of that said, and it's coming, and I've went 15 minutes over. So I'm going to now go to just a couple of pictures before we close. And then we're going to play us out with two little tunes, and they're patriotic tunes. So I'm asking everybody to stay with us to hear what it is that many people stay to hear every single week. And we'll be back again on Wednesday evening. And over the course of the coming weeks, we'll have got some good guests that is coming along. And I'm talking to a man, a local journalist which is sympathetic to British Unionism here in Northern Ireland. And I hope to have him on the live or on the screen here very, very soon. and I'll announce it whenever that it is agreed or otherwise, and we'll see how it goes. So here, I just wanted to show this before that we head off. This was something that I looked at the weekend. Okay, so this really is. I mean, this was an article by Ben Laurie from the newsletter, and it's just at the bottom of your read there. Ben Laurie, there should not be an Irish Language Act, but it's too late. The DUP has agreed one. Now, I remember reading through that article, and before Ben Laurie actually got to write that within the last few days, I think that came out on Saturday, and it was a powerful piece of journalism, I have to say. It was a powerful piece of writing. But I had been thinking about in the last few days. I mean, I seen Arlene and Michelle standing last week in Dungannon and in the hill of O'Neill. You know, that place where they go to now to do their press conferences. So there they were at the podiums on the hill of O'Neill, and they were being asked if, you know, I think there was an issue the previous week where someone had said in the DUP that there wouldn't be an Irish language legislation if the protocol remains, or if the protocol wasn't sorted out. And then that created a bit of controversy for the DUP. So the journalist last week, if that's what you want to call them, they asked Arlene Foster, if the protocol is not scrapped, will there be Irish language, an Irish Language Act, is what the BBC presenter said. And Arlene Foster, she danced around it a bit, and then it went on to Michelle O'Neill, and she was sort of saying, "Oh, there has to be an Irish Language Act. There has to be. There's going to be. That's not negotiable. There will be." And then I remembered, and I'd heard it a few times last week, is that, I remember the DUP saying to us, when we were in the thick of it, whenever this was all going on, talking to DUP people, talking to, we're even dealing with an Irish professor of the Gaelic language from the south, who was kind enough to take us to some of the Irish language groups to try to talk to those people about why that it is that we shouldn't have this act, this tool that some people had weaponized. And I remember that we were being told that it's not an act, that it's a commissioner, and and it's going to be a joint act. This is what they said, and it's not going to have, here's what Edwin Poots says. Edwin Poots said to myself and John Ross that we're going to strip the powers out of the commissioner. And he put his hand in the middle of the desk, and he brought it to the end of the desk, and he says, we take the powers right out of the commissioner, and it's here right now, but it'll get to there, and it'll be toothless. He didn't say that, but that's what he meant. And, I looked at John, and John looked at me, and, in words to the effect of, are you for real? And I can remember suggesting at the time, who remembers the parades commissioner? How did that work out for the marching bands fraternity? How did that work out for the loyal orders? A commissioner is a commissioner is a commissioner. A commissioner is an enforcer. Anyway, whilst they were saying that there was going to be a commissioner for the Irish language, I remember arguing at the time that that was as good as an Irish Language Act, because that was giving Republicans their destabilising, nation-building bag of tools. And that's all they needed to start destabilising Northern Ireland, to start pushing in and getting businesses and all sorts of places to implement Irish language policy and have Irish language speakers, and meantime discriminate against British Unionists in the process. I mean, we all speak English. If they want to teach, preach, talk about Irish, cherish Irish, learn Irish, do whatever it is they want with Irish, if they want to be funded for Irish, providing someone's willing to give them the money, well, that's all very well. But I didn't see the need for an Irish Language Act or an Irish Language Commissioner. I mean, that was a tool that would be used against British Unionism in the future. That's how I seen it. And that's what Ben Laurie was writing at the weekend. So now, people, what has happened in the last week, there seems to be an acceptance that it's not just an Irish Language Commissioner, that's an Irish Language Act. So we're going to be doing a show all about that in the very, very near future, and I just want to actually to highlight that and to show you that. I'm just going to go to one more picture, and then we're going to switch over to the live chat, and we're going to go. So here's another one. Sinn Féin confirms two-party supporters based in Serbia are involved in managing its Facebook account. And I wonder, and people in the Irish Parliament right now are complaining about this. It says up here that they admit supporters based in Eastern Europe help out with their social media. And there's different laws in different countries. This is the way it works for different ways in which you can do things in social media. We'll have to get to the bottom of that. We'll have to understand why that it is they're using people in Serbia from all places. Are they running the Shinner bots? Who knows? We all know what the Shinner bots are, because there's been many people from within the British Unionist fraternity here in Northern Ireland has been subjected to the most vile abuse that was ever known to man on the likes of Twitter. So who knows why the people in Serbia run some of their social media accounts. Who knows? Anyway, thank you very much for coming along. And again, I know that I've went way over. I know that I've cheated, but everyone has sort of stayed with us, and that's exactly why that I stayed along. So we're going to play us out, and we'll be popping some of the live chat, some of what it is that you're saying up on the screen as we play us out with two patriotic songs, and then we'll be closed. So thanks very much. I'll see you all on Wednesday evening. Thank you very much for once again for staying with us and for contributing to the live chat. And as for Billy Dixon and his wife there, yeah, we'll be doing a lot more with reference to the Boyne Bridge, and we'll keep you updated on how far that it is that we've got with these politicians, and we'll keep you updated with reference to answers that we get as we go along. So again, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to ditch one of the songs that we normally play, and I'm going to play us out with, again, this highlighting of what it is that we need to save in terms of our heritage and our history in a place called Sandy Row. We'll play this first because there's a nice wee song attached to it, and then we'll play us out with our normal Hands Across the Water. Thanks very much. See you all on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
It was a morning in July in 1690. Two great armies were converging on the River Boyne. On the left you had King James of Scotland with 26,000 men. James arrived at the Boyne first and set up his great tents and cannons, and he waited. On the other side you had King William, Prince of Orange, with 30,000 men. As William rode through the narrow country lanes of Ireland on that hot sunny July morning in 1690, he was armed with the latest in artillery that day. Finally William too arrived at the Boyne and set up camp and prepared to do battle. Then at 8 o'clock on the morning of the 1st of July 1690, the Battle of the Boyne started. The fighting lasted throughout the day until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. "1,500 men were killed on that day. James fled the battlefield and William, Prince of Orange, was victorious. Sound your drum and flash your sword. Wade into King James's horde. Watch the wind and thrust the Lord, or I'll die for our Isle William. On Boyne's great shore, that glorious day, 30,000 that beat their way. For Orange we fight, and for Orange we'll say, we'll die for our Isle, William. Sound your drum, flash your sword, wade into King James's ford. Watch the wind and trust the Lord, for we'll die for our Isle, William.
Just across the Irish Sea stirs a heart of loyalty, raising honor and indignity, drives a will to keep us British free. Not alone are we on this journey, for in a land just across the sea is a hand that reaches out of friendship, and a bond that's lasted centuries. And its hands cross the water, reaching out for you and me, for Queen Ulster and for Scotland, help to keep our loyal people free. Let the cry be no surrender, let no one doubt our loyalty, reaching out to the brave red hand of Ulster is the hand across the sea. Help to keep our loyal people free. Let the cry be no surrender, let no one doubt our loyalty, reaching out to the brave red hand of Ulster is a hand across the sea. Just across the Irish Sea stirs a heart of loyalty, raising honor and dignity, drive the will to keep us British free. Not alone are we on this journey, for in a land just across the sea is a hand that reaches out in friendship, is the hand across the sea, is the hand across the sea, is the hand across the sea.
The dark 11th hour draws on and sees us sold to every evil power we fought against of old. Rebellion, rapine, hate, oppression, wrong and greed are loosened to rule our fate by England's act and deed. The faith in which we stand, the laws we made and guard, our honour, lives and land are given for reward. To murder done by night, to treason taught by day, to folly, sloth and spite, and we are thrust away. The blood our fathers spilt, our love, our toils, our pains, are counted us for guilt and only bind our chains. Before an empire's eyes, the traitor claims his price. What need of further lies? We are the sacrifice. We ask no more than leave to reap where we had sown, through good and ill to cleave to our own flag and throne. Now England's shot and steel beneath that flag must show how loyal hearts should kneel to England's oldest foe. We know the war's prepared on every peaceful home. We know the hell's declared for such as served not Rome. The terror, threats and dread in market, hearth and field. We know when all is said, we perish if we yield. Believe we dare not boast. Believe we do not fear. We stand to pay the cost in all that men hold dear. What answer from the north? One law, one land, one throne. If England drives us forth, we shall not fall alone.